Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Bobcat Outsider, the show that brings you Bobcat football from a fan perspective. This week, the Bobcats faced Northern Arizona and had to come back from a big deficit to win. Next week, the Cats traveled to San Luis Obispo to take on the Mustangs of Cal Poly. We'll talk about both of those games and the bigger picture in this week's episode of the Bobcat Outsider. First up, the rewind. Last week, we talked about the importance of a pass defense in this game, with NAU coming into the game averaging almost 400 yards through the air. The Cats held the Lumberjacks to 273 yards, exactly 100 yards fewer than NAU gained against Arizona. Again, the Cats come from 3 scores behind to 3 scores ahead against the Lumberjacks in a dizzying comeback, the final 35 points being scored by the Bobcats. With NAU hanging its hat on its run defense, this was a great test for the Cats' rushing attack. While it looked pretty grim in the first half, the MSU offensive line once again wears down the opposing team, while the defense locks down the opposing offense, holding them to only 3 points in the whole second half. Here's what Braden Conkle had to say about the second half nature of the team.
We're a second half team. I mean, that's kind of our strong suit. Eventually, we're going to get to, a full game team. But no, we kind of pride ourselves on being finishers, so we definitely wore them down, both offense and defense.
I absolutely loved the toughness that Coy Steele showed, running 30 yards after getting absolutely hammered by 2 NAU defenders. I loved the physicality that the team showed, exemplified by the Troy Anderson third down conversion and by another run by Travis Johnson, in each of which the runner just lowered his shoulder and slammed into the defender at the point of attack. I thought the play where NAU sort of stood Travis Johnson up and Mitch Brott and Taylor Tuiasosopo almost carried him forward from there to get a few more yards perfectly encapsulated Montana State football this year. I've put together 3 sets of highlights so far this year, and I gotta tell you, I absolutely love the way that Derek Marks comes through with his Superman tackles every single game. He always gets off his block in just enough time to get back there to just dive and make that play just at the last moment. His level of effort is off the charts. I also want to take a moment to give a little love to James Campbell, who has been remarkable on getting downfield in punt coverage. I also want to give props to Case Cookus, who was such a good sport that he offered Derek Marks a high five after he came around the edge on a speed rush and broke up a pass. This game was an important first win and home win to start off conference play for the Bobcats, and they rose to the occasion in the second half. It's time to figure out how to get this team going in the first half if they're going to thrive come playoffs. Coach Choate says that he's unsure about how to get the team going to start the game. To me, it seems like it's either a matter of preparation or a matter of motivation. He's talked about how in the past he's tried to motivate the team before the game and that hasn't succeeded. Well, I think that this might be a little bit different of a team than he was trying to motivate in the past. And if he's able to get the team up and ready at the beginning of the game, once they start to build a lead, they'll be able to really get that momentum cruising in the second half. But it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback, isn't it? Now let's wrap up last week's game with some highlights. Out of that game, Bryce Stirk continues to lead the country in sacks and tackles for loss despite not registering either in this game. The wily veteran Cookus throwing the ball smartly into the turf a couple times before the bruiser had a chance to get to him. This game was the first of Travis Johnson's career over 100 yards rushing, making him the 6th Bobcat in 5 games to pass that mark. Troy Anderson moves into a second-place tie with Bobcat greats Chad Newell and Don Haas with 29 rushing touchdowns. Still a long way off from Cody Kirk, who ended his career with 47. And with that win, the Cats move up one more spot to number 6 in the Stats FCS Top 25 poll. This Saturday, the Cats travel to Alex G. Spanos Stadium in San Luis Obispo for the first time in Jeff Choate's tenure to face the Cal Poly Mustangs. Cal Poly comes off a close win in Cedar City, where the Thunderbirds missed a game-tying field goal going just off the left upright to lose that game. That game concludes a 3-week road trip for the Mustangs, making the Montana State game the first time in a month that Cal Poly has played at home. Cal Poly's record coming into the game is 2-2, with their other win coming as a decisive victory against San Diego, a team UC Davis struggled against and narrowly defeated. Their only losses coming against Weber State and Oregon State. Cal Poly leads the series 10-6, while Montana State holds the last win last year in Bozeman. The two big question marks for Cal Poly were the fullback position, recently vacated by Cal Poly great Joe Prothro, and the quarterback position, filled by Khalil Jenkins until this year. Jalen Hamler has answered the question about Khalil Jenkins, coming in and earning Big Sky Offensive Player of the Week in his first week of play against San Diego. He passed for 221 yards and 3 touchdowns in that one, and added 96 yards on the ground along with 2 more touchdowns. While Zui Sampson has taken Joe Prothro's place, leading the conference in rushing yards per game at 99.5. He averages 5.5 per carry. MSU and Cal Poly enter the game ranked number 1 and 2 in rushing offense in the conference. While Cal Poly is known for the triple option and is last in the conference in passing yards, Cal Poly leads the conference in passing efficiency and completes passes at a 67.4% rate. Interestingly, Montana State great Steve Cracker is the offensive analyst for the Cal Poly Mustangs. He sits in the 3rd spot all-time for career rushing yards in MSU history. He played from 1972 to 1975. All right, let's talk key matchups. I think that Cal Poly is going to present a unique problem for the MSU defensive line. These guys are phenomenal at their jobs, which are going to completely change on Saturday. They are used to using footwork, hand placement, speed, and strength against standard offensive lines, almost none of which will be that useful against the very different blocking scheme and style that the triple option calls for. Even though the Cal Poly passing offense is very efficient, they just don't go to it that often. So options for a pass rush will be really limited this game. It will also be important for the defensive backfield to prevent those explosive plays. That's where Cal Poly is going to look for an advantage. Here's what Jeff Choate had to say about that.
The guys that really have the hardest job in some respects, I mean, everybody can say they have a hardest job, but those secondary guys, and then you can get lulled to sleep, and you just have to be so disciplined with your eyes, play in and play out, that because the second you fall asleep, they're going to find that guy sleeping on the edge, and they're going to run the post or the vertical route, and those are the ones that can kill you. You give explosive plays to an option offense. You make them earn it. They're going to eat up chunks of time. They're clearly going to have an advantage, most likely in time of possession, which is what they're counting on. They're going to go for it on 4th down, on anything probably 4th and 3 or less between the 40s. And so they want to try to shorten the game, take away possessions from the offense, force you to defend something crazy, and every once in a while pop that big play.
On offense, I think the greater size and speed of the Cats will lead to points sooner or later. And now on to players to know. Redshirt freshman quarterback Jalen Hamler wears number 4 and hails from Lawndale High School in LA. He's having a breakout season with a superbly efficient passing game and a great run game to match. Sophomore quarterback Zui Sampson from Claremont, California wears number 22. He leads the conference in rushing yards per game. Senior wide receiver J.J. Koski from Danville, California wears number 6. He was 3rd team All-Big Sky last year, and he currently ranks 19th in the whole country in receiving yards despite Cal Poly going to that so infrequently. It will be important for the Cats to key on this guy in the passing game. Senior free safety Keetu Humphrey wears number 8. He's a graduate of Long Beach Poly in LA. He has 185 tackles, including 129 solo tackles, averaging 4.9 per game in his college career. And now for some keys to the game. As I said earlier, the Cats need to prevent those explosive plays and make Cal Poly earn every yard that they get, just like Coach Cho said in his press conference. On offense, they'll need to continue to ride that run game, but I think it's important for the Cats to take this opportunity against the number 11 pass defense in the conference to get that passing game going. The game kicks off at 6 p.m. Mountain Time and will be carried by ABC Montana in Western Montana and SWX in Billings. Out-of-market fans will be able to find the stream on Pluto.tv, but be warned, a lot of times that stream when it's coming from Cal Poly for some reason is just not an especially good feed. And now it's time for Across the Divide. The Grizz shocked the number 4 team in the country in UC Davis, beating the Aggies 45-20. Dalton Sneed once again earns Big Sky Conference Offensive Player of the Week, completing 66% of his passes and tying his career-high 5 touchdowns. With that win, the Grizz jumped 10 spots from number 18 to number 8 in the Stats FCS Top 25 poll. And now it's time for an outsider's eye view, a look at the broader context of the FCS and the Big Sky Conference. Well, the Big Sky Conference never fails to shock, and Idaho goes on to lose to winless Northern Colorado a week after beating Eastern Washington, who has been the class of the conference the past 10 years. Once again, number 4 Davis loses to number 18 Montana in Davis. The Aggies game next week in North Dakota will tell us a lot about Idaho, Eastern, Davis, and Montana. And Weber State continues to quietly assert their dominance, beating the number 19 in the country, Northern Iowa, 29-17 in Ogden. And now it's time for outsider opinions, and I have a feeling that this week's is going to be another unpopular opinion. This week, California passed Senate Bill 206, which prevents the NCAA from barring universities from competitions if they pay their athletes for the use of their likeness or their name. Many will see this as a perversion of amateur sports and feel like athletes should compete for love of the game or for pride in their school. Here's the thing, like it or not, Division I football and basketball are all about money. It makes people millions and millions of dollars every year. If you look at the highest paid public employee state by state, all but 11 states have either a college basketball coach or a college football coach in that position. And it's not just universities making tons of money off of these athletes. It's shoe companies, up until recently it's been video game companies. And these are just 2 examples of many, many other places where athletes lend their name or image to an organization and they're able to make money off of it. Did you know that college football is a $1 billion industry? As much as we'd like this all to be about amateurism, this is a business. That's why you hear players saying things like, I didn't come here to play school, I came here to play football. You may not know this, but players have found their images on video games where the guy looks just like them, same color skin, same height and weight, and then they also shoot with their left hand. He's definitely based on the guy. This is the example of Ed O'Bannon. If you're unfamiliar with it, he went on to sue the NCAA, and it's kind of gone back and forth a little bit. But consider the fact that this guy, after he's no longer a part of college sports whatsoever, still has his name and likeness being used on a video game that is not paying him anything for it. What the NCAA is engaging in is technically a cartel. They are the only people that are allowed to sell the product because they're the only ones who can compete against each other. What a lot of people will say is that the college degree that an athlete earns during their time at school is going to be worth whatever they can bring to the school in revenue through their sport. But if that's really true, I'm not saying that you should pay them millions of dollars. I'm saying that you should allow them to come to terms with the school for how much money that they are actually worth. And that's how you find out what something is actually worth. You let the buyer and the seller negotiate a price. So if you're convinced that the education that they get is equal to what they bring to the school in their athletic performances, then you should expect that if they're free to negotiate those terms, that that's the same price that they'll come to terms on. But I think we all know deep in our hearts that schools are going to be paying a lot more money to the elite athletes so that they can bring them in, because that's how they fill their stadiums and get fans to tune in on a weekly basis. If they don't do that, then they don't have the revenue from the television appearances, the online streams, or the stadium revenue. It's time to recognize that college sports is not just a bunch of kids that really like their school and want to represent on the playing field. It's time to acknowledge that a lot of people are making a lot of money, and it's based on the backs of these young kids. But that's just my outsider opinion. So what do you think? Do I have it all wrong? Should kids just be thankful that they get a chance to get an education at a good university? Let me know in the comments below. Do you have a business, organization, or event that you would like to see featured in the Bobcat Outsider? If so, send me an email. I'll leave my address in the description below. As always, everyone, thank you for watching. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Shane Driscoll. You can always find the most knowledgeable, best researched, and most thorough coverage of the Bobcats and the Big Sky on Skyline Sports. That's SkylineSportsMT.com. And for the plug of the week, I want to once again encourage everyone to check out the R&R Cat Cast. If you're a Bobcats fan, you need to be listening to this podcast. The Ryans do a great job of bringing a conversational tone to Bobcat football. They too cover it from a fan perspective, so those of you who are fans can appreciate where they're coming from. If you liked the video, be sure to leave it a like. If you want to see more like it, please subscribe. If you click the bell icon, it'll notify you the next time that a video comes out. I'll catch you next time, and until then, go Cats!